But all 4 schools in our district do not necessarily have the same peers. So, if you're interested in some of the statistics behind this, they look very simply something easy. Is it an elementary, middle, or a high school? Is it a vocational school? What is the free or reduced lunch percentage in that school? Most of the schools in our district are 50% or above of the children on free and reduced lunch. Then, there is a statistical analysis applied that looks at that free and reduced lunch percentage. LEP stands for Limited English Proficient and Special Education. And so it runs these statistical measures and comes up with a distinct list of 30 peer schools for each school in every district in the state. One of the pieces obviously looks at academic achievement, and in recent years this looked at ASK. How did the whole school do on ASK? How did each subgroup do? It also looked at what are known as annual measurable objectives and targets under what was originally known as the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Under Bush became NCLB, and the name may change again in the future. I should note that for these pieces of the presentation, last year, and that's what this data is, the spring 2014 administration of ASK. Last year was the last year of ASK, and this year we moved to PARC. So for this piece of the report, the baseline will be set again based on this year's tests. So we have these NCLB progress targets, and for each school, for language arts and math, it shows which subgroups met the target, and in parentheses are the subgroups that did not have enough students for that subgroup to count. So you can see in each of our schools in language arts and math, there are subgroups that we are pleased to say met the targets. There are subgroups that did not have enough students for the DOE calculated. Obviously, it means that there are subgroups that did not meet the target, and we work with them. It should be noted that for this part of the assessment, it looks at just the percentage of students in that subgroup that passed the assessment. It does not look at growth from one year to the next. We will look at that on a different slide. Just to let you know, anytime we do a report like this at a board meeting, the next day we do post it on our website if you want to revisit it and look at it further. The next slide looks at that information and looks at how the school did on that academic achievement in comparison to all the other districts in the state, as well as to the peer group. So you can see each of our schools listed and those rankings. And one of the things that's good is everything is either the same or an improvement from 2013. So even though there may be some subgroups that did not meet the target, if you see especially average or high or very high in comparison, they still did well, even though the target may not have been met. The next piece, and this is the newer measure from the Department of Ed, and this is a measure that many educators feel is a more fair and accurate, if you will, assessment of the school's performance, because it looks at growth. How did the students in that school do in growth from one year to the next? Because remember, when children enter, whether they come to us in preschool, which is a very small number, or start with us in kindergarten, they come in with different experiences. Some have never been to preschool, some have been to preschool. We have kindergarten children who come to us, they know their letters, they know their numbers. Some are maybe just starting to read. We have other children who come to us in kindergarten and don't know their letters and numbers. So you have to realize the children begin at a wide range of levels. So there is, again, an entire statistical formula that looks at a student's test performance compared to other children with a similar test history. And then a median is identified in terms of growth. If you do not remember mean, median, and mode from school, median is the middle. So if I took a list of scores and there were 21 scores, that middle score would be the median, as opposed to the mean, which is the mathematical average. But median is the measure that the Department of Ed selected. They believe it is the statistically most valid measure for this type of assessment. So now we again look at each of our schools and how they did in comparison to every other school in the state and every other school in their peer group. And when we look at this growth, though we might not have seen the word lag or the word average on the prior slide, when we look at this slide, our comparisons are all high or very high. And so that means that, at least on this assessment, and remember, it is just one assessment, our students are showing growth. They are making progress year to year. Again, all of these ratings are the same or improved from the prior year. One of the other things the Department of Ed looks at is college and career readiness. And at the elementary level, the only measure of college and career readiness is absenteeism. And chronic absenteeism is a student who is not present 10% of the school year for any reason. So if you think a child who's on roll all year, it's 180 days. If that child is absent 18 or more days, that child is considered to be chronically absent. You notice it doesn't matter whether that child's parents said we're going on vacation 2 weeks. It doesn't matter whether that child had mono that was out, had the flu that was terrible. It doesn't matter what the reason is. Any school with more than 6% of the students being chronically absent is considered not meeting the target. So let's look at our elementary schools, and you can see the percentage, and then again there's this peer rank and this state rank. I will tell you, we are working on this because we would like to see better numbers. In all candor, not because of the DOE report, but because we believe that children need to be in school to learn. You can't benefit from the instruction of our teachers or even the other things, the socialization with the other children, the activities, etc., unless you are here. At the middle school level, college and career readiness is measured in 2 ways. Like the elementary school, it looks at chronic absenteeism, but in addition to that, it looks at percentage of students who participate in algebra, meaning Algebra 1 that is equivalent to the high school level of Algebra 1. Any school that doesn't have 20% of the students in Algebra 1 does not meet the target. Here at GTMS, 21% of our 8th graders do take algebra, or did take algebra last year, and again there's that peer rank and that state rank. If you were at high school, there are additional measures of college and career readiness. So for example, if you went into the report for Absegami, you would see additional information about this college and career readiness factor. So, what are we doing in district? Because these assessments, especially with the transition to Park, are aligned to the Common Core, we continue to do professional development. Obviously, with the shift from Ask to Park, we are spending time preparing for that, including, is our technology ready? Does it work? How are we distributing our computers, as well as sample assessments? For our own in-district purposes, we do a lot of our own data analysis. For example, are there correlations in our district between attendance and a student's test results, or other factors such as that? At a recent board meeting, our board adopted a new policy based on changes in New Jersey Administrative Code related to student attendance. We just had an in-district meeting that went through our policies, and I will be sending a letter home to parents with some of these changes related to what is an excused absence, what is an unexcused absence, and what we are required to do should a student have an absentee pattern, especially if they are unexcused. The other piece, and we will continue to talk more about this, is finding the balance between government mandates that we are required to do and what we believe is best for the students here in Galloway, which may not be the same for children in other parts of the state or the country. And so that's an ongoing dialogue with our teachers, with our administrators, and certainly with the board. With that, again, this is the link that you can click on, and it takes you into Department of Ed website. Let's see if that's going to do it for me. Yes, it did. And so what we will see is that this allows anyone to go in. You can enter the school name, you can search by county, and you can see in detail a more in-depth explanation of the slides I showed you, plus some other data about each of our schools. And finally, first I'll open to any questions or comments to the board, and then certainly we will open it to the public as well. Mrs. Cordero.
Are any of our schools listed in the same peer group at all?
Yes, in some instances, we may have more than one of our schools on the same list, but I do not believe that all 4 of our elementary schools are ever on the same list, which is intriguing to us. But there are some subtle differences in the data that must bring that forth. Any other board questions? For the board members, I do have one extra set of the full report with me. If anyone would like to take it home, please let me know, and we can pass it around, or certainly if more than one board member wanted a hard copy rather than viewing electronically, I will provide it for you.
Is that going to be online?
This whole presentation, tomorrow, Joanna will post it on our website, yes. I actually sent it to all of you, both in PDF and PowerPoint form, right before the board meeting. Okay. And once we get seated, we will see if there are any questions from the public.
Thank you, Dr. Giaquinto. At this time, we'll take any questions from the public regarding the student performance reports that were presented this evening. Seeing none, let's move to the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, President Hubbard. The first item is the attorney's report. I'll turn it over to Mr. Capuccio.
Thank you. From the initial report for this meeting, generally things have remained similar or the same. You've seen the board members, as you've seen from the reports from the administration. One additional item of personnel has come up. Also, the hearing is still on in Philadelphia. For one matter, it's been complained of. Mr. Brophy and I will be attending on February 25th. I'll fill the board in on what happens then. And other items have been submitted by Mr. Kelly in his report also. Nothing further from the previous report has arisen, however. Any questions?
Thank you. Board members have Mr. Capuccio? No? Thank you, Mr. Capuccio. Student enrollment.
Yes, this was originally an attachment for the January board meeting that was canceled. As of the end of January, we have 3,263 students in district and a total of 3,381 when we add in students out of district at either Atlantic County Special Services or the other special services, any of the private schools for special education, home instruction, charter, or choice. I'm sorry, excuse me. The out-of-school suspension report for December is also attached. The HIB report for the reporting period December 11th through January 21st is attached. The student enrollment report for January 30, as I mentioned, is attached. The out-of-school suspension for January, which I'm pleased to say was very brief, is attached. And then the one action item under my report is a resolution to approve the 2015-2016 school calendar. I'll just give a few highlights. Because Labor Day is early next year, we are looking to have the first day of staff on September 1st, and then a staff development day, and then the first day for students on the 3rd, and then another student day on the 4th, both of those early dismissal days. We then go into the Labor Day weekend. We don't often start before Labor Day, but because Labor Day is so late this year, we felt the need to get the school year started, because our goal is to finish as early in June as possible. Other items of note in the calendar are certain federal holidays for which we are closed. We do open on Columbus Day for professional development, not for students. We have reduced the number of early dismissal days for staff articulation based on feedback from parents and board members. We do have a number of early dismissal days for parent-teacher conferences, certain days before holidays. So we do try to balance the needs of the district professional development with understanding the parents. So with this particular calendar, the last day of school would be June 10th. One of the things that we are listing differently, should there be one inclement weather day next year, we would take away the Thursday of spring break so that we don't go into the following week to keep us ending on that Friday, June 10th. Should there be 2 or more days of inclement weather school closings, we would then stay open on the Thursday of spring break and add those days to the end of the year. If you didn't get all that, it is printed on the bottom of the calendar. So there's some highlights, President, of the coming calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Giaquinto. Before the board can discuss it, we're going to take a motion on it. Can I have a motion to approve item number 7 under the superintendent's report, please?
Second.
Thank you. Now I open it up for discussion. For the public's information, the board met, I believe it was last weekend or the weekend before? Yeah.
The 30th and the
31st. Yeah, we met and discussed the calendar in detail. We made some changes. And then some of the changes that we had talked about were subsequently changed. I think one of the things that we talked about at our retreat and institute was the second day of school, which happens to be September 4th, I guess. We were talking about having a full day that day, which happens to be the day before Labor Day weekend, the Friday before Labor Day weekend. We felt, we didn't realize that now, but we realized that people will probably be going away that day. So parents will be leaving work early, and there's no sense in holding children here till 2:30, 3:30, when parents will be leaving work at 12 o'clock. So we went back to a half a day on that one. And I think there was one other change that we had talked about, but we did cut back some of the half days that we had talked about at the Institute. We reduced the number of half days so the parents didn't have child care issues and getting the children off the buses and everything. So we did reduce those number of days, and we continue to strive to do that. I know the students don't like it because I know they like more early dismissal days than not, but unfortunately, you're here to learn. But open it up to the board members for any additional comments that I may have missed. Anybody else? Any public comment now on the school calendar for 2015-2016? Seeing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Carlin? Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
No.
Mr. Hungry?
Yes. Curriculum instruction, please.
Thank you. The first item is a resolution to approve the Southern New Jersey Consortium program for the spring 2015 semester. The dates are listed. Resolution 2 is to approve home instruction for the following students. For each individual, the student number was listed, the school the student attends, the dates, and the rationale. Resolution 3 is to approve the following Rowan University School Psychology Track and Field Work for the spring 2015 semester. The student, the cooperating school psychologist, and the school and grade are listed. Resolution 4 is to approve the GTMS Drill Step Team to volunteer at Richard Stockton College as part of the 11th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service on January 19th. Resolution 5 is to approve the GTMS students to participate in a map count regional competition at Rowan University, and they actually did that this past Saturday. Resolution 6 is to approve the GTMS 2014-2015 winter sports schedules. And I will note that the items with an asterisk are from the meeting that was canceled. So you'll notice a number of these things have already happened. Resolution 7 is to approve home instruction for the following students. Resolution 8 is to approve 4th grade band members of Smithville Elementary School to perform at the New Jersey Music Education Association Conference in East Brunswick on Friday, February 20th. Mr. O'Keefe, the instrumental music teacher at Smithville, is one of the presenters, and the students are joining him in the presentation. Resolution 9 is to approve the GTMS A&W group to attend a Special Olympics event at the Strike Zone in Egg Harbor City, and it should be noted that the transportation costs are being covered by Special Olympics. Resolution 10 is to approve the GTMS URSA students to visit the Stockton College Holocaust Center on February 20th, and these transportation costs are courtesy of Integrity Transportation.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 10 inclusive under curriculum instruction, please? Thank you. Any board discussion?
Yeah, I have an easy question. What's URSA?
URSA is United Responsible Students Achieving. It is a program in 7th and 8th grade that identifies students who have the potential to go to college but need some additional support in setting themselves on that path. For example, perhaps no one in their college and their family has ever attended college before. There's a screening process at the end of 8th grade. They do a summer program and then certain activities during the school year. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Any public questions? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Hungry?
Yes. Thank you. Finance and school operations, please.
Yes, for this section of the agenda, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Item 1, a resolution to accept the following food service report, the profit and loss statement as of December 31, 2014, the trial balance report, breakfast and lunch cash sales, the breakfast and lunch meal count participation, as well as special income detail. Item 2, a resolution to accept the investment report for the month of December 2014 in accordance with board policy. Item 3, a resolution to accept the board secretary's monthly certification budgetary line item status as of December 31, 2014. Item 4, pursuant to New Jersey Code, the Galloway Township Board of Education certifies that as of December 31, 2014, after review of the Secretary's monthly financial reports and upon consultation with the appropriate district officials, that to the best of our knowledge, no major account or fund has been overexpended in violation of code, and there have been no changes in the anticipated revenue sources and/or amounts, so that sufficient funds are available to meet the district's financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. Item 5 is a resolution to approve the cash and secretary's report for the month of December 2014. Item 6, a resolution to approve the January bill list for the 14-15 budget. Item 7, a resolution to approve January transfers for the 14-15 budget. Item 8, a resolution to approve the following tuition receivable for 2014-15 school year. For each student, the student ID, the home district, total tuition, which is the actual tuition that we're going to estimate that we're going to receive, assuming the student remains for the remainder of the school year, the per diem amount, and then annual is the actual annual tuition rate should the student have been here for the full 180 days. These students have arrived mid-year, so we will not be receiving that amount. We're anticipating the amount of the total tuition problem. Item 9 is a resolution to renew the milk and dairy bid for food service to Cream Lane Dairies for 14-15, including the margin rates for individual beverage types, as well as the New Jersey Department of Agriculture Class 1 Advanced Milk Pricing Announcement, which is issued by the state of New Jersey. Item 10, a resolution to approve amendment number 1 to the 2014-2015 IDEA Basic and IDEA Preschool programs, and this will reflect 2013-14 carryover. For each category, basic and preschool, the total grant amount is listed. And finally, item 11, a resolution to ratify NCLB account numbers for individual staff members noted below. These staff members work exclusively with ESL, or English as a Second Language students, during the summer learning program. This component of the summer learning program is funded through NCLB Title III. The original account, which is a Title I, will be changed to the adjusted account, which is a Title III account. I did write to the board about this in the end of the week. I believe it was before our January meeting that was canceled.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 11 under finances for operations, please? Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery? Mr. Days?
On number 6, bill list, I must abstain on page 4, PO number 500347, yes, and no.
Thank you. Mr. Anika?
Abstain on items 1 to 8, yes, and
Thank you. And Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordera?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Continuing on, item 12 is a resolution to approve Freitag Weiss Hopkins Dufy PC as the architect of record for the 2014-15 and 2015-16 school years. And item 13 is a resolution to approve Brown & Brown as the employee benefits consultant of record for the 2014-15 school year as well as 15-16. We had an RFP that was issued for both of these. Item 12 is a professional service contract. Item 13, pursuant to direction from the state of New Jersey, is an extraordinary unspecified service, otherwise known as EUS.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 12 and 13 under finances for operations, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mr. Anika?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. Continuing on, item 14, a resolution to approve Dr. Thomas O'Reilly, Medford Family Psychiatry, as consultant as needed, beginning December 16th, 2014 through June 30, 2015, at a cost of $400 per evaluation. Again, this is on an as-needed basis. The account is listed. Item 5, a resolution to approve the student to attend Coastal Learning Center, beginning January 5th through June 30. The cost, which is listed there as annual cost, will be prorated. Item 16, a resolution to approve the student to attend Coastal Learning Center. Student number is listed, beginning January 5th through June 30, 2015. The total annual cost is listed, will be prorated as well as the account number. And item 17, a resolution to approve student number listed to attend the Atlantic County Special Services School District, January 29th through June 30, 2015. The cost of $36,360 will be prorated. The account number is listed. Item 18, a resolution to approve the following transportation contracts with the Greater Egg Harbor Regional School District for the 2014-15 school year. The accounts listed, each of the route contract, the type of route, school's location, The route number and the per diem and annual amounts are listed.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 4 through 18 inclusive under finance and cooperation, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any board discussion?
I have a quick question. The Coastal Learning Center, as opposed to the Atlantic County Special Services, I'm taking it that the placement of our special education students there depends on, only because I see a price difference.
There it is.
It could depend on a variety of factors.
Where is the Coastal Learning? It's in this vicinity.
I'll be honest, I cannot answer that question, I've never been there.
Okay.
I have talked to child studies teams, especially Mr. Hand's absence, about
Okay.
Coastal Learning Center, but different, Atlantic County Special Services tends to have a lot of different programs, be it for severely cognitive disabled students, for behavior students. Then some of the other schools, Coastal being one of them, specialize in either autism or behavioral disabilities, and
So I'm taking it something that the special services doesn't offer.
yes, or we don't feel it's the right program, or they don't have space, and we can no longer accommodate the student in district. And I will just say in general, we are believers that our children should stay in district and only look to outside placements when we absolutely cannot accommodate them.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment?
No.
Please come to the microphone, sir. State your name if you're a Galloway resident.
Here's the microphone. How many already? Is this on? I don't need it. I was just looking at these resolutions here. Where does all this come about? How do you figure all these numbers?
Can you?
You gotta be more specific.
Sir?
Well, you just mentioned resolutions 14 through 18 on page 78.
Sure. In terms of Resolution 14, we have a variety of different consultants that are hired by the district on an as-needed basis. So if a student is experiencing a particular type of difficulty, we have psychologists on staff that are not psychiatrists. So sometimes we need a psychiatric evaluation for a student. So that cost, for example, $400 is what that particular person charges, and if we believe that is reasonable and believe they are qualified, that person will be approved as an option. In terms of all the other items, special needs students have what's known as an IEP, an individualized education plan. The IEP team, which consists of the child study team, the child's teachers, sometimes the administrator, and the child's parents, look at all the evaluation information we have about the child and determine the child's placement. Overwhelmingly, children with special needs we educate in our own schools. Some in the regular classroom, some in small group settings, some in self-contained settings. Other children need to go out. Children that go to an outside placement, the tuition is set by that school.
Let's go to 14. $400 per evaluation.
As needed, there's been one child who has had an evaluation out of 30-something.
So how did you come about approving Dr. Thomas O'Reilly, Medford Family Psychiatry? How did you come about approving that?
We have a whole list, sir. An entire list is approved every year, but sometimes we have a unique situation that perhaps we need a consultant with a specialty, and we research who's available and who is out there. We select someone and approve them. Because these are professional services, a sealed bid or quote is not required, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Keller?
Right, well, generally with these also, any amount, we may use one of these vendors once or twice in a year. So they're used very rarely.
But what makes you base picking this guy?
I believe
Well,
that,
we have a director of special education, we have a supervisor.
And how did they get to that list?
To be the director of special ed?
Whatever you're picking, whatever you use.
I believe what he's saying is, did you pick him out of the phone book? Is he referred to the district?
No. We have, as I said, we have an entire list that is approved on an annual basis of consultants used. For example, a child with native language might be Gujarati. So we need someone who is not only a psychiatrist, but can speak and write Gujarati.
And how do you get that list of those
You
persons
assess,
who qualify for that criteria?
sure, we have director of special ed and other professionals who review all the people available in the area and sometimes outside the area that provide that professional service. Based on recommendations, based on past experience, we approve the ones that we believe are appropriate for our school district. And then as they are used, we obviously assess, are they providing the service? Is it being done well? Is it being done for an acceptable cost?
And those evaluations are put in? You evaluate these people?
Absolutely. Do they have a written evaluation? No, because they are not our employees. But do we evaluate whether or not we believe they are professional, whether their work is thorough, and whether it is helpful to our students in our schools?
And is that written?
Those evaluations, no, because that's not a formal employee evaluation.
Or should you think that should be evaluated that way?
Well, sir, I need to rely on the professionals in the school district. There are child study team members and counselors who review these documents. There is a director who reviews these documents. There is a supervisor who reviews these documents. And since Mr. Hand, the director of special ed, is out on medical leave, I am the acting director of special ed. So right now, I am reviewing these documents. So every one of these things is done very thoroughly. First and foremost, to make sure the needs of our children are being met, and secondly, to make sure we are being fiscally responsible.
Okay, so the bidding process,
This is not something, this professional services do not need to be paid.
why is that?
That is state law. There is guidelines from the state of New Jersey that tells us what needs to be a sealed bid, what you are required to have quote, and what is professional service that is at the district's discretion of which professional services you choose to use.
And after that's determined, should that be public knowledge?
That is why it is on the board agenda, sir.
But where are the documents to indicate that? If I wanted to see the sealed bids that came back and you decided to pick a sealed bid and this is the company or the person.
If it is something that is a sealed bid, that is absolutely done through a public process. But again, certain things are not a sealed bid. All of those documents are available in the Office of the Business Administrator.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to follow up on what he was asking, how many psychiatry firms do we primarily use on a year?
Mr. Carmen, I would have to have the list in front of me. At one of the earlier board meetings, there is an attachment that has a series of specialists. There are psychiatric evaluations, there are neurological evaluations, there are neuropsychological evaluations. There are people who do all of those things in English, in Spanish, in Gujarati, in Cantonese. So there's an entire list that we do have maintained at the district office. The master list is approved once a year, but sometimes as the year goes on, we need to add to that list, and that's when you'll see an isolated single approval.
So it would be safe to assume that we get upward of 20 different medical professionals just for psychiatric evaluation.
That's possible, yes.
Okay.
I don't want to quote the number, but we don't just have one person.
Exactly. And
That
that's
is
what I'm alluding
correct.
to.
That is correct.
There's many out there for many different situations,
Yes.
and by putting this on here for number 14, basically it's filling our Rolodex to allow us to have, more of an arsenal to help our students. And as Mr. Kelly, I believe, said, we don't do this very often. This isn't something that happens every day. But it is something that's needed, and it allows our, program to grow and grow its success.
Thank you, Mr. Carmen.
Any other questions? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mr. Hennigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
And finally, one last item in finance, out-of-district travel, resolution to approve the following training workshop. The activity, which is a serve safe class for food service. The staff member, the name, the expenses, and account number are all listed. I'll note this is an enterprise account, so it is funded through the operations of that office, which is the food service department. It's not part of the regular budget. And then secondly, the second activity, iPad applications and strategies. 2 staff members listed, the date and expenses. I'll note that this is paid through a federal grant, and so you'll be entitled to A.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item number 19 under finance and school operations, please?
So moved.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Anico?
Yes.
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to facilities and maintenance, just one item, a resolution to approve the district architect's certificate of substantial completion for the following projects: the roofing replacement at the Roland Rogers Elementary School and the roofing replacement at the Smithville Elementary School.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item number 1 under facilities, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Any board discussion?
I have a question. So once we get their certificate, Mr. Kelly, then we apply for the warranties, is that how that works?
Yes, they're working on the warranties right now for the final completion. This is substantial completion, which generated the punch list. I have a formal certification. This also allows us to go ahead and move forward and apply for the state portion of this project through the SBA grant, which is funding just over 47% of the project.
And does that include the rebates? Was the rebates associated with it?
That is after the warranty.
That is after the warranty? Okay. Thank you. Is there any public comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Anico?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery? Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes. Committee use of school facilities, please.
Thank you. Item 1 is the Galloway Youth Lacrosse request the use of the field, at GTMS on Mondays through Fridays from 6 to 8 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. starting March 1st through May 31st. Resolution 2 is Mainland Baptist Church requests the use of GTMS gym for a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, March 28th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Item 3 is the NJEA News Media Firm requests the use of GTMS cafeteria and 2 classrooms for filming purposes on January 31st for 7 a.m. To 4 p.m. And any items that needed to start prior to this meeting, especially with the other meeting being canceled, administrative approval was granted.
Hey, can I have approval to approve resolutions 1 through 3 inclusive under community use of school facilities, please?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Anico?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. There's a series of informational items with FSA activities that are being hosted at the various schools.
Thank you. Personnel, please.
Thank you. Item 1 is a resolution to accept with regret the letter of intent to retire from Susan Donnelly, teacher at Galloway Township Middle School, effective December 1, 2015. Mrs. Donnelly has worked in the Galloway Township Public School District for 29 years, and her dedication and commitment to students and staff are appreciated by our entire school family.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item number 1 under personnel, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call?
Days? Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Anico?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 2 is a resolution to accept with regret the letter of intent to retire from Gloria Brooks, teacher at Roland Rogers Elementary School, effective July 1, 2015. Mrs. Brooks has worked in the Galloway Township Public School District for 26 years, and her dedication and commitment to students and staff are appreciated by our entire school family.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item number 2 under personnel, please?
Second.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Anico?
Yes.
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution to accept with regret the letter of intent to retire from K.P. Hales, teacher at Roland Rivers Elementary School, effective July 1, 2015. Mrs. Hales has worked in the Galloway Township Public School District for 23 years, and her dedication and commitment to students and staff are appreciated by our entire school family.
Can I have a motion to approve item number 3 under personnel, please? Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Roenick?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution to accept with regret the letter of intent to retire from Janet Thomas, Secretary at Galloway Township Middle School, effective December 1, 2014. Mrs. Thomas has worked in the Galloway Township Public School District for 23 years, and her dedication and commitment to students and staff are appreciated by our entire school family.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item number 4 under personnel, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? The 4 long-time employees that
We've had, I took retirement on every agenda the entire year since the
wow,
Is it?
amazing. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mr. Roenick?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
And Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 5 is a resolution to approve a 1-year leave of absence in accordance with Administrative Code for Megan Schneider, teacher at GTMS, effective September 1, 2015 through June 30, 2016, without pay, without benefits. Resolution 6 is to approve the maternity leave request from Heather McGuire, third-grade teacher at Smithville Elementary School. The dates and terms and conditions are listed. Resolution 7 is to approve Allison Ninfa as a science teacher at GTMS for the 2014-2015 school year, effective April 13, 2015 through June 30, 2015. The salary, step, degree, and account are listed. This is a replacement position. Resolution 8 is to approve Judith Alton as a 6th grade science social studies teacher at Roland Rivers Elementary School for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 11th through June 30. Again, the terms and conditions are listed. This is a replacement position. Resolution 9 is to approve James Greff as a part-time classroom assistant at Pomona Preschool for the 2014-15 school year, effective January 12 through June 30. The salary, the dates, and the level are listed. This is a new position. The board may recall I wrote to you about we needed to increase staffing at Pomona because special ed preschool students can enter as soon as they turn 3. They do not have to wait for the next school year. Resolution 10 is to approve the extension of Sinatra Gandy as the secretary of GTMS for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 1 through February 28, 2015. The terms and conditions are listed. This is a lead position. Resolution 11 is to approve the following substitute teachers for the 2014-15 school year. This goes back to January 27th because this was originally on the January 26th agenda. Pending successful completion of the criminal history review. The various account numbers are listed, as are the names of each individual, their certification status, and their daily rate. Resolution 12 is to approve a salary increase for substitute food service workers from $8.25 per hour to $8.38, and that is 8.38 decimal point, effective January 1. This increase is to comply with the hourly minimum wage in New Jersey, which became effective on January 1. Resolution 13 is to accept a letter of resignation from Robert Ford, assistant principal at Smithville Elementary School, effective February 10, 2015. Resolution 14 is to approve the family leave request from Christy Buck, 6th grade teacher at Reeds Road Elementary School. The dates and terms and conditions are listed. Resolution 15 is to approve the maternity leave request from Heather Samuelson, district occupational therapist. The dates and terms and conditions are listed. Resolution 16 is to approve Tamara Mori as a 3rd grade teacher at Smithville Elementary School for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 23rd through June 30. The terms and conditions are listed. This is a lead position. Resolution 17 is to approve the following substitute teachers for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 10 through June 30, pending successful completion of criminal history review. These were new ones added on this agenda as of February 10th. Again, the accounts, the individuals, the certification status, and daily rate are listed. Resolution 18 is to approve the following substitute secretaries for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 10 through June 30th. The hourly rate and individuals are listed. And finally, Resolution 19 is to approve the following substitute custodian for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 10 through June 30th. Again, the hourly rate and individual listed.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 5 through 19, inclusive under personnel, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Days?
Yes.
Mr. Iannicone?
Yes.
Mr. Carmen?
Yes.
Mr. Greb?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
And I believe we have some of our new staff members with us this evening. So first, I'll introduce the principal of Smithfield School, Dr. Kathy Hathaway.
Good evening, thank you, Dr. G. It's my pleasure to introduce Tamara Roaring to you. She first graduated in Stockton as a speech pathologist and decided her true love was to be in the classroom and went back and got her certification to teach elementary children. So she'll be with us to the end of the school year.
Welcome. I don't believe we have anyone else. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Do I see Mrs. Junker? There you are, Mrs. Junker. And please let me introduce the principal of Galloway Township Middle School, Mrs. Kaler-Jones.
Thank you. I have Allison Nympha here with us tonight. She is going to take a position as a science teacher in 8th grade. She graduated from Stockton last year with a degree in biology and a minor in marine science, and she's actually currently teaching high school biology, forensics, and environmental science. So it was a very interesting interview process, and we are excited to have her on board. Thank you.
And the principal of Roland Rogers Elementary School, Dr. Robin Moore, is also with us here to introduce a new staff member.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Good evening, board members. It brings me great pleasure to introduce our new science teacher, Ms. Judy Alton. She comes from Egg Harbor Township, highly recommended. We were impressed with her interview and her audition. Judy Alton, everyone.
Thank you to our building administrators and the new staff members. Welcome. Supplemental positions. Resolution 20 is to approve the following teacher for supplemental instruction extension of the school day per the student's IEP beginning January 15 and continuing for the remainder of the school year as needed. The stipend and account, which is federal IDEA money, are listed. Resolution 21 is to approve the following Smithfield Elementary School teachers for the Smithfield Academy. The hourly rate and not to exceed hours are listed, as are the names of each of the teachers involved. This is funded through federal NCLB Title I. Resolution 22 is to approve the following Reeds Road Elementary School teachers for the Park Prep Program. Again, the hourly rate, hours, and individuals are listed. This is also Title I funded. Resolution 23 is to approve the following Arthur Grant Elementary School teachers for the Before School Tutoring Program. Hourly rate not to exceed hours and individuals are listed, also Title I funded. Resolution 24 is to approve the following Roland Rogers Elementary School teachers and classroom assistants for academic support Park Prep Program. The hourly rates for each of the categories and the not to exceed hours are listed, as are the names of the participating individuals. This too is Title I funded. And finally, for this section, Resolution 25 is to approve the following intervention and referral services member for the 2014-15 school year, effective February 2nd through June 30th. The stipend, which will be prorated, and the hourly rate, I apologize, that does not apply. That was for those in the summer. The account is listed, and this is a replacement position.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 20 through 25, inclusive under personnel, please? Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Iannicone? Mr. Carmen,
Yes.
Mr. Greb,
Yes.
Mr. Days,
Yes.
Mrs. Avery,
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero,
Yes.
and Mr. Hubble.
Yes.
Thank you.
Notice the meeting, please.
Yes, our next regular board meeting is February 23rd, right here in the cafetorium at 7 p.m., and then you see the March meetings as well. We are reminding everyone, for years we were the third and fourth Mondays of the month. We are now the second and fourth Mondays of the month. Special events. We are reminding the public that Greater Egg is holding a referendum on March 10th. Three of our schools are used as polling locations. One of the things that we used to do annually but are now doing every other year is our district wellness fair, which is open to the entire community, is on March 19th, right here in GTMS.
Thank you. I guess we go to new business. Resolution here, School Board Recognition Month in New Jersey was in January 2015. This would have been read last month, however, due to inclement weather, it wasn't, so I will take the opportunity to read it now as this resolution. Whereas the New Jersey School Boards Association has declared January 2015 to be School Board Recognition Month, a time that all residents might acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members, and whereas the Galloway Township Board of Education is one of more than 581 local school boards in New Jersey that sets policies and oversees the operations for public school districts, and whereas the Galloway Township Board of Education embraces the goals of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students, and whereas New Jersey's local school boards help determine community goals for the education of approximately 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas New Jersey's 4,800 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services act as advocates for public school students, and they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education, and whereas school boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs, and whereas boards of education provide accountability to the public, they communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to the school administrators the public's expectations for the schools, and whereas New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in indicators such as high school graduation rates, class size, college entrance exam participation, and advanced placement offerings through test scores. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Galloway Township Board of Education does hereby recognize that services of local school board members throughout New Jersey as we join communities statewide in observing January 15th as School Board Recognition Month, and it be further resolved that the Galloway Township Board of Education urges all New Jersey citizens to work with their local school boards of education and public school staffs towards improvement of our children's education. Can I have a motion to approve as read? Any board discussion? Any public comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carmen,
Yes.
Mr. Days,
Yes.
Mrs. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Greb,
Yes.
Mr. Iacona, Mrs. Cordero,
Yes.
and Mr. Hubble.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that concludes this portion of the meeting. We'll go around the table, go over any old business. Tonight, how about we start with Madeline? Did you look so excited?
I would like to commend the administration of Galloway Township School System for their outreach program last week. I thought it was a great idea in this economic climate that we're in, and I was happy to see that the school district reached out to people that were in need, and maybe we helped, who knows how many people we helped, but information was provided. I know it was a lot of work, it was well organized, and I just think if that was the brainchild of the superintendent, which I think it might have been, she should be commended for that because it was a great idea.
Richard?
I would just like to welcome Ashley to our meeting. Welcome. I'd also like to welcome Ciera Kaler-Jones. God bless you. Good luck in the future. She's another example of what the Galloway School District can do and making students like her be successful. Good luck in the future. God bless you.
Mike?
Welcome, Ashley. I'd like to say congratulations to the students of GMS and the student council for passing your goal in your clothing drive. And I'd also like to commend Miss New Jersey for her platform, which is why you're here for your us to recognize you. We certainly support that platform. And yes, the outreach this last week, attendance wasn't quite what we might have loved to see, but for those who attended, that was a great thing.
Great, thank you. David?
I'd like to welcome back Mr. Iannica. Consider him a father figure and excited to have him sitting next to me. So whoever's in charge of that did a great job. But on a serious note though, we have two ladies here tonight, current student, former student, and it makes me excited to see how the Galloway school system has brought such success and allows us to see the work of our school board. And we appreciate your time and appreciate what you're doing. Keep heading in the direction you are. I think it's fantastic, and the sky's the limit, obviously, for you. And I also like the attendance that we have tonight. It's great to see all these faces in the crowd. Thank you.
Mr. Iannica?
Too much more to add. Everybody said everything great. I have to be nice.
That's why you're asking
First, I have nothing more to add. Just thank everybody for being here.
Ashley? That is your turn. I told you I'm coming back to you.
Well, this meeting was very interesting, and it's really nice to see how this actually works. I've heard so many great things about how lovely this school board is, and I really see now that it is really good.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Now, your meetings, were they run like this?
Right.
So you follow Robert's rules? Do you follow Robert's rules? Do you wait to be recognized? Do you have a first and a second in discussion? You do all, okay? Oh. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Now you're going to go back and tell them how well organized the board is? So, good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Let's see. Go ahead. Thank you for already pushing the button.
I was waiting. Ciera, I have to tell you that my kids saw you speak at one of the schools, and they were so impressed. They were so excited to get to see Miss New Jersey. So thank you for not only coming here, but going to our schools and talking to the kids, because I think that's what's really important. So thank you. And I also wanted to commend Roland Rogers on the sports night. That was very successful, and did not stay for the volleyball game, but there were a lot of parents and a lot of students, and they seemed to be having a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ashley, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. Ciera, on behalf of the Board of Education, congratulations. We very much appreciate your time coming out, and especially coming to the schools and showing our students how well they can do if they work, and this is what they can achieve in life. And being a product of Galloway, we're extremely proud of you, I can tell you that. And I guess, as you can remember, it wasn't that many years ago, you walked down the center aisle here and came up on the stage, you got your diploma. We are very proud of you, so thank you. Thank you again for coming back. We do appreciate that. I did attend the Roland Rogers sporting event. That was a great event that night. I think Rich was there, so that was there. Good things happened that night, so I'm glad the school did have a nice night. So I did enjoy myself. Just one before we, Bill, do we have anything for closed session?
I know this was great,
At this time, is there any other public comment? You come before this Board of Education before we adjourn for the evening? Sir, please come to the microphone, state your name if you're a Galloway resident.
Good evening. My name is Leo Giss, 310 Charles Drive, Galloway. I've been out monitoring the children as far as this is pertaining to transportation. I've been monitoring the children that are walking to school between the ages of 5 and 10. I have grandchildren in that age group, so that's why I'm speaking on this, along for other parents that have children that are walking to school. I am also a New Jersey State Fire Official, Fire Inspector. I noticed that on Collins Road, the children that live in these apartments, Metric, Federal Court, Colonial, there are no sidewalks there for these children when they come out of this complex onto the road. I also have observed the vehicles that parks on the side of the road waiting for the children or dropping off the children to go to school, to which the smaller children are walking out into the street. Now, when you get down to Rankinboro Road, you have a school guard there that will cross them over, and then they have a sidewalk to walk up. Besides that, there are no other sidewalks. I also noticed that a lot of the children use a path, a wooden path, from these complexes, these apartments where they live, to which is unsafe. It's not lit, you don't have no security out there, and I have measured the mileage. Where my grandchildren live is 1.5 whatever. I know the state says that you have to have 2 miles before they consider busing. But there's a clause there when you come into safety is for our children. You look at the weather climate, they're walking in mud, dirt, because there are no sidewalks on Collins Road, as I speak again. The other thing that I noticed, excuse me, is that there's a lot of horse playing with these children when they're walking home. I'm saying in the age of 5 and 10. If you look into your records on bad days, rainy days, heavy snow days, how many people sign their children out of school because these small children have to walk home in this weather climate? I feel that it's unsafe, and I'm asking you to look into this here for our children. It was just an episode this week, EHT, where somebody was coming around the bend and hit somebody and killed them. You ever notice how people leave their homes in the morning in a rush hour with these children walking in the street? Take that in consideration. That's something to go for. Like I said, I measured it, it was 1.5 whatever. 2 miles, I know it's a state law, but there are clauses in there when it comes out to the safety for our children. My other question is, you have child care programs in the morning and in the afternoon. The funds that you collect per child, per week, let's say $6 a day. Drop off in the morning, an hour and a half or whatever, you charge $6 a day. The end of the week, that's $30. 4 weeks, that's $120. I multiply that by 8 months, it's $960 per child. I have 2 of them that's dropped off in the morning. Where are these funds going that is being collected for this child care? How is it being spent? Where is it being used? I'm just asking questions because this is something that has to be looked at where you can utilize some of that funds into this transportation for our children. If you multiply that by 200, you're almost at $300,000. That's a low count. that's just morning, that's not including the afternoon. My main concern here is the safety for the children. If you can look into this transportation for the children that are at the age of 5 and 10 that are out here walking. That's a long walk in critical weather. And if you look at your attendance in the school system on how many parents come get their children out of school because they take off of work, they don't want them walking in, pouring down rain or whatever. Take all this into consideration, and I hope you can come up with a solution on this at the next meeting to present to the public on what you have looked into for this transportation for our children, as well as the funds that are being collected from the child care morning and afternoon, where these funds are being spent.
Well, I got a question for you, sir.
Yes.
Let me just, and Mr. Kelly can correct me if I'm wrong. The monies are collected from child care.
Yes.
By law, that's not school money.
That's an enterprise.
That's, by law, it's like a separate company, it's called an enterprise fund, that money goes into, okay? And that has to pay for the people that we have to pay to run that fund, to pay for the supplies, the phones, the printing. It has to be self-supportive. That is not a penny of any of that is paid by local taxpayers.
Are we speaking about the children that we're dropping off in the morning?
Yes. The money you pay, all the money you pay, that pays for the people that are running that program. Wow. Okay? And we get audited. Not only, and I can tell you this is a fact, we get an annual audit. Independent auditors come from outside the district to verify every money is accounted for, and that money does not come to the school district. Okay? Now, the question I have for you, going back to the safety issue, correct me if I'm wrong, Collins Road is a county road. So the county would have to put a sidewalk in on Collins to make it more safe.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Sidewalk, we would prefer transportation.
I understand.
Right.
I got that
The
part.
sidewalk is a start.
Okay. I'm trying to understand because the sidewalks are grants, the municipality, and I'm not sure how the county does. The county does the same thing, get grants to get sidewalks installed. Okay. And going back to the individual apartment complexes.
That's private property.
I can't touch that, but I absolutely, we do have a very good relationship with the police department. We can definitely start, because I believe that they also get involved in getting the grants for us.
Thank you. We've been involved in over the last 2 years on some what are known as Safe Routes to Schools grants. Those funds were utilized, if I'm correct, and again, this is on the municipal side. I believe those funds were used to put in the new walks at the corner of Wrangell Road and Great Creek. If I'm not
And
mistaken.
sidewalks.
And additional sidewalk construction.
So listen, thank you for your points up. I wrote down Collins Road. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a county road or a municipal road. To tell you the truth, I think it's a county road, but it doesn't make a difference. We can still follow up with it.
Okay, yeah, that will help a lot. 'Cause like I'm saying, you get the parents that parks there, you got the local transportation buses that parks there, and when the mud and grass is all wet, the kids are walking in the streets. I'm talking 5 and 10-year-olds.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And we want safety.
Yes.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right according to the law, unless it's a safety issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mike, you have an issue?
Could we look at potentially a resolution for next month to send a letter to, I believe that is a county road, to the county requesting that they investigate putting in sidewalks in Collins?
Would the first step be to check with the safe route, whoever does the safe routes with the police officers? Because if it's, there's certain roads that kids cannot cross and certain roads that they.
I'll touch base with Mrs. Reeves, who's our transportation coordinator. She was the key point between the school district and the municipality when we did the last Safe Routes to Schools program. So I'll touch base with her, we'll reach out, see if it's on the municipal side or the county side.
Okay.
See what we can,
Thank
at least ask it.
Thank you.
And if it does happen, can you send a notice out to the parents, to give them relief that it is being looked into? Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Good evening. My name is John DeMarco. I'm a resident of Blue Heron Pines. I recently retired from IBM after 42 years. One of the concerns that we have as citizens in Galloway is the high tax rate. We're all concerned about that tax rate. A lot of our taxes in Galloway have increased significantly from $1,000 to $2,000 per resident. We know a big piece of our tax rate is the district and the regional school budgets. And I just would like to pass this out. And believe me, I applaud, and I know the citizens and residents of Galloway applaud the work that the school board does. And we are in support of our schools, and we commend all the teachers. And all the new teachers, we congratulate them too. But our big concern is the tax rate. And I'm not here tonight, to go into the details, but I know you're in your budget process now. And I think in the beginning you just said you reviewed it with the county, it goes to the county. But as you can see here, the district school tax from 13 to 14 went up 35%. And the regional went up 37%. So the biggest impact that we have is from the schools. And what I'm asking you is, as you're going forward now in your budget process, to look at that so that you look at your costs and try to bring that tax rate down so we as residents don't have to pay any more taxes, because you're losing a lot of residents. We're just picking up and leaving. So you can give me an explanation to it now, but we're just asking you to work with us to help the citizens to bring that rate down so our taxes can come down. We know there's other factors, and we're working with various groups with the municipality. We met with the mayor the other day, and we're going to go to the regional meeting next week. And, we're trying to work, through with the county too. We need help from everybody. We can't fight everybody here. We don't mean to fight, but we need you to work with us so you can help us bring those rates down. So if you maybe just let the audience know what your plans are to do that, and maybe commit to us that you will say in 2015 that tax rate will go down.
Mr. DeMarco, I'd just like to point out that between 2013 and 2014, we had the revaluation in Galloway Township.
Understand that.
So when we look at the tax rate and we see that the district school tax rate went up 35%, the actual dollars that are collected from the school district, if I'm not mistaken, went up approximately 2%. I'm not sure.
No, Mr. Kelly, you understand, I understand that from the mandate, that's the way it comes down. But in effect, when it affects our taxes, you can see the increase that has on our ultimate taxes. So somehow we have to figure a way that tax rate can be reduced.
Right. I just wanted to clarify.
I understand.
The tax number did not go up 35%. It's the tax rate that was recalculated. I just happen to have the net valuation list here. The net valuation in Galloway Township for the 2013 budget was $3,500,000,000 and change. For the 2014-15 budget, the net valuation tax will actually decrease 23%. So it decreased to a little over $2.7 billion. So, in essence, the lion's share of that increase is just the result of changing the divisor that...
But will that net out to a lower rate in 2015 for us from the district, different schools? So that when they calculate it, when I go to the tax, my tax bill comes in, it'll show it's lower, so I'll pay less. Is that what you're saying? That the rate will go down? That rate there where it's starting district?
The rate went up because of...
No, I know it went up, but will it go down in this next budget cycle? For next year,
I can't
2015. Well, that's what we're asking you to work towards, to try to get that rate down so our taxes don't go up.
we understand. You know, we understand, even if we don't increase a penny in spending, we can't control whether the taxes go up or not.
No, but you can control your rate, that's one factor.
No, that's the total thing we can't control.
The total you can't, understand that.
We can control our dollars, which then may or may not affect the rate. Do you
I understand.
understand?
My name is Bob Muller, a resident of Galloway Township. I live in Blue Hern Pines, also president of the Homeowners Association. First of all, again, I want to reiterate congratulations to the school board on the performance report. Congratulations to all the teachers, the fine work that you do. All right. My wife is in education, so you have a sort of an ally of heart here relative to that. However, I want to just sort of reiterate what John said. We already know the referendum at the regional, which is not you all, has already been mentioned. In the current, it was already stated that if all three of those ballot measures pass, it's another $44 per $100,000 assessment to Galloway residents. That has no impact on whether you're going to be increasing or decreasing dollars and so forth. We're asking for help. We have met with the mayor, the deputy mayor, and so forth. We know that the township had to take out a loan to pay off that assessment. They've already pledged that when that's paid off, that will be applied to a credit on that side. They've already said that this coming tax year, their budget will go down. So we know that their taxes from the Galloway Township standpoint will probably be less. We know that the county has already said they're going up 2.5%. That was in the paper the other day. We know that the regional school district is asking for another increase. If this ballot goes through, it has nothing to do necessarily with the budget, but it does have to do with bond issues. We understand that. We just need your help. We are getting taxed to death. And the net income on all of our folks, and there's a lot of retired folks here as well as people at work. I'm a retired senior officer of a corporation. I run business operations. All right? So understand what's involved. And all I can ask is that you please try, and I know this is a very intelligent group of individuals and a lot of business folks in here and a lot of business savvy, but we need your help. The citizens of Galloway need your help to control the expenses. Right? What is the budget? I guess it's a question. In the future meetings, what will the cycle be in terms of when the budgets will be discussed, and when will we be able to see what's going on and so forth?
At this time of year, probably starting with the February 23rd meeting, there will likely be something about the budget at just about every meeting. The formal budget hearing is not until, is that April 27th?
I believe it's April 27th.
But meetings in between, what we do in our school district is Mr. Kelly and myself do different presentations to the Board of Education and public, showing what programs we feel we need to maintain in the areas of instruction, what things we may need to add in facilities, what we need to maintain, what we may need to add, where we can do cost-saving measures. We already, Mr. Kelly already gave one presentation at the January 5th, I apologize, I forget what day, one budget presentation that showed the status of where we are, how our money is being spent right now, the efficiencies that we experience as a school district, and things of that nature. But generally speaking, at this time of year, almost every meeting has information about the budget. I will tell you, on our district website, I very often in my message at this time of the year will start letting the public know these are the meetings where there is a budget presentation. So if you don't want to come to every board meeting, you can at least come to those where there is a budget presentation.
And I appreciate that. If we can get that information, take a look at it, and then we'll get the folks that will want to be here. I do have one point of clarification. I mentioned this at another board meeting, and it dealt with the before and after school programs, which are tremendous and valuable. And I happen to have an individual who's very much involved with one of those, not here in Galloway. Right? But when we say there's no taxpayer dollar, I understand that it's self-funded and so forth. And I asked this question the last time. I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I did ask lighting, air conditioning, administrative support, your legal support. Is that coming out of the funds that they pay? Or is that covered, or is there no charge back for that?
Do you mean for something like childcare?
I'm talking about the before and after school programs that gentleman mentioned. I understand the enterprise fund, I understand that they're self-funded and so forth, but they're in a building, there's lighting, air conditioning, heating, there's administrative support. If there's a legal issue, if they need counseling from finance, who issues their paychecks?
In terms of the enterprise accounts, we do not charge them rent, if you will, or we do not charge them for the electricity. However, any administrator associated with, say, the food service program, for example, that salary is charged to the food service program.
Right,
and all the salaries of the food service employees, all the salaries of the child care employees, those salaries, the supplies, the materials are all charged to that particular program.
What I'm asking is for consideration that the board think about. Taxpayers do fund that program and through all those other items. So let's get that on the table.
You could make that argument, sir.
Yeah.
One of the things we also see is allowing those programs, obviously the food service program has to be in the school. We feed the children the lunch and the breakfast, those that participate. In terms of the child care, we do see that as a service to our parents, who also are taxpayers. So in a sense, those parents are not only paying as taxpayers to support the program, but then they're paying.
Right, but so the rest of us. But my point is, other school districts, and I know this for a fact, charge a fee to the enterprise fund to reimburse for some of those costs. And all I'm asking, and it can be quite substantial if you add up the pennies, is that you think about that. I certainly understand why you don't do it, tough economic times and so forth, but we're all going through tough economic times right now. So it's just a point of consideration.
I would understand that if there was like $300,000 or $400,000 left over in that fund. I agree with you. But when you're left over with like $12,000 or $13,000 at the end of the year, what occasionally you might do is that maybe that fund, we end up needing to buy a couple of computers, and so that the children have computers to play with at the end of the school year. So after school they can have some computers.
Well, then at least I would say that when the explanation is given, it also be recognized that other taxpayers, not just the parents who are usually working parents and need the programs. I'm not arguing the program. It's fantastic, it's valuable, and so forth. What I am asking is for recognition that all the other taxpayers are, in one sense, also subsidizing the program, so that at least it's on fair wording in terms of how it's being evaluated. That's all. Thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Hearing none, I have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed?